In tonight's Top Gear, Morgan's flying machine, the Aero 8. Star quality, 100 years of Mercedes. And sporty MPVs. You cannot be serious. Worcestershire, England in flaming June. Somebody somewhere in this picture postcard scene is probably writing poetry, or perhaps putting the finishing touches to a nice little watercolour. Here in the Malvern Hills, time doesn't just stand still, it puts its feet up and has 40 winks. Wonderful, isn't it? How some things just never change. As the world shifts dramatically around us, so we cling ever more desperately to the things that are anchored in the past. But who on earth would choose to build motor cars in a place like this? Answer? Morgan. The corner shop of car manufacturers in a world of soulless supermarket conglomerates. Stuck in a time warp, yet one of the country's most successful car makers. If you still think that Morgan's business practices are as barking as its charming but antiquated cars, you'd be wrong, because a revolution is underway in Malvern. Flat caps and pipes are still encouraged, but now there's a mind-blowing alternative. The £50,000 Aero 8, the first brand new Morgan for 65 years. A car designed to put the company firmly on the supercar map. A thoroughly modern race-bred monster that can embarrass Porsches, Benzes and BMWs around the fearsome corners of the old Nürburgring circuit. A British beast to beat Germany's best. Actually, while we're on that subject, something foreign has sneaked under that British bonnet. But what?
It's a BMW M62 4.4 litre V8, the best V8 engine in the world, in not just my opinion, many people's opinion. We've used it because it complements the chassis. Interestingly enough, some of the BMW engineers have said, well, it's marvellous to have a lightweight chassis so we can really appreciate the performance of this engine.
It's unthinkable. I mean, what would the general public do if they found out that one of their most cherished national treasures was, underneath it all, a bit German? Oh, I don't know. Controversial bloodline aside, there is a more immediate issue facing the Aero 8, the way it looks. There's no getting away from it. This car is boss-eyed. Mind you, the order books are filling up nicely for what's a generally skillful modernisation of the classic Morgan shape, balancing tradition with the need for progress. Not always an easy job.
Aye, we is feeling it.
The Aero 8 certainly has appeal beyond traditional Morgan owners. Why have you gone for an Aero 8? Why have you gone for this big, beefy monster?
We wanted something that was different, that was appealing. My husband and I, we both love driving. We don't have a family, we didn't have to consider anything other than a two-seater sports car. And for something that had a driver appeal, but also performance, for us, this was it.
Happily, the tradition bit is alive and well here in the Aero 8's cockpit. And when I say cockpit, I really do mean cockpit. The view ahead is absolutely fantastic. Anyway, the footwell is just on the right side of cramped, although there's a lot of heat soak coming through from the engine, which leaves your toes feeling nicely toasted. The driving position is purposeful, but intimate, and the dashboard is a retro smorgasbord of dials and knobs, all set in beautifully turned aluminium and flanked by, well, what else would it be? This is a Morgan after all, wood. Which takes care of the tradition. So what about the progress? Well, let's go back to the BMW bloodline. Are you really going to have a problem with a high-tech 4.4 litre 286 bhp V8 powering a car that weighs almost exactly a tonne? Does it really matter where it comes from?
Aye.
So that's the progress bit sorted out. And the Aero 8 is all about progress. Extremely rapid progress. Plant your foot in first, second or third gear and there is so much acceleration that were you silly enough to be wearing a flat cap, it would get ripped clean off the top of your head. There's a racing car style abruptness and beefiness to the Aero 8's steering, its clutch, its throttle and its gear change. And yet it manages to ride amazingly well too. The thing about it is though, it feels as well sorted and as well planted on the road as any Porsche or Ferrari, and that really is a stunning achievement for a company that's based in a few sheds in a wee town in the middle of Worcestershire. It's also genuinely radical. Under those flowing wings, the Aero 8 has a super stiff aluminium structure, which gives it racing car grip, huge AP racing brakes. Stop it like a racing car. It is a racing car. Oh, it's just as happy to amble lazily along in fourth gear. The Aero 8. I loved it, but I really didn't think I would. People are far too hung up on tradition in this country, but this crazy Morgan is proof that even great British institutions can cope with a thorough overhaul. Old-fashioned on top, but radical underneath. It's a modern-day supercar that is forever England.
So, Mr. Barlow, what do you do?
So around here somewhere, they're pretty rare, but apparently one's been released into the wild. There it is, gotcha, the Subaru Legacy, or better known as the Outback.
Not exactly a beaut, is she, mate? But then no Subaru really is. They've got the kind of styling you forgive, then forget. But at least it looks as if it can handle itself. And those markings, the metallic paint alloys come as standard. Right, I'm going in for a closer look.
The interior is a classic Japanese formula. Well built, well specced and well ugly. Subaru's disregard for all things cool is what's helped to make it a cult favourite.
But coming from a country where blokes wear mullets, beach shorts and gold rugby tops out for the night, they clearly don't care what anything looks like.
The all-new 3-litre engine is a flat 6, like you get in a Porsche. It's not as quick, but there's something about the warbling call of a boxer on song that makes speed irrelevant. Still, it's no slouch. 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds and a top speed of 130 miles an hour make it very difficult to hunt down.
It comes with a 4-speed automatic gearbox and a couple of large acronyms which are safety gizmos. Basically, if you try to recreate a special stage on the way home from the shops, it won't let you, mate. The Outback is practical without even trying, and it all looks as if it can put up with a hard life. If you and the missus fancy an afternoon drink, it can take an impressive amount of canned lager with the seats up. Fold them down and you won't have to make 2 booze trips in a day. And there are plenty of storage spaces around the cabin so you can sneak a bottle of sherry for the Sheila. Oi, don't fizz it up.
If you want a 4-wheel drive luxury estate, then you're looking at the Volvo Cross Country starting at £28,910, or the Audi Allroad kicking off at £29,360. At £26,995, the Subaru is up there with the big boys, but its badge doesn't quite cut it just yet. At this money, it's getting dangerously near to the prices of cars with much greater driveway cachet. But you can see where all the money has gone. You get 6 airbags, ABS, cruise control, alloys, CD player, twin electric sunroofs, leather, climate control, heated seats, the works. Don't let vanity get in the way of a superb car. I'll give it an 8, mate.
Still to come on Top Gear. 100 years of Mercedes. Buying your first Rolls, it could be cheaper than you think. And more fun on the school run. Performance MPVs.
Step off the train at Stuttgart in southern Germany and you'll soon start to notice something strangely familiar about the place.
Wir haben jetzt hier die Gottlieb Daimler Gedächtnisstätte, wo die Mercedes-Fahrzeuge ihren Ursprung haben. Mercedesstraße.
Welcome to Motor City, Mercedes style. And now Mercedes is 100 years old. Not bad for a car with a girl's name.
I'd like to do a song of great social and political import. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? My friends all drive Porsches, I must make amends. Worked hard all my lifetime, no help from my friends. So, oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz?
And to some, the prestige of the name is worth making a pilgrimage to the home of Mercedes to collect their new car.
Well, I come from Ferndale in Dorset to Stuttgart. It's a special occasion, buying a Mercedes. And I thought I'd like the experience of seeing the factory, having a tour, collecting the car myself.
An average of 500 people a day come from countries all over the world to be introduced to their new partners. It's almost a religious experience. And it all began back in 1901 when entrepreneur Emil Jelinek took delivery of the latest Daimler racing car, Daimler to you and me, and was so impressed he wanted to sell the cars abroad. But the Daimler name was already owned in France by Panhard, so he changed it, rather touchingly, to that of his 11-year-old daughter, Mercedes. This 1902 Mercedes Simplex is almost identical to the car that so impressed Jelinek. And it was a revolution in its time. The old wooden car-door chassis has been replaced by pressed steel. The ugly finned tubes that used to cool the water have been replaced by a much more efficient honeycomb radiator. And for the first time, there's a gated gear change to allow you to select any ratio you want. Broadly speaking, it defines the modern car.
Unfortunately, the Simplex is rather complex, and only one man is allowed to drive this particular Mercedes treasure. Carry on, Manfred. Incredibly, they used to race these machines for hour after hour, doing speeds of up to 70 miles an hour on broken surfaces. It must have been mad. And there was no protection from the elements.
Daimler continued to race throughout the first half of the century, boasting a string of victories, with their famous Silver Arrows dominating the Grand Prix scene in the late 30s, when England's Dick Seaman roughed up a few important feathers by winning the 1938 German Grand Prix. After the war, Mercedes didn't return to Grand Prix racing until 1954 and promptly took the driver's title for 2 straight years, courtesy of one Juan Manuel Fangio, and gave Stirling Moss his first Grand Prix victory at Aintree in 1955, a year in which the young Englishman will also win the gruelling Mille Miglia. But when one of their cars flew into the crowds at Le Mans, they immediately withdrew from all motorsports. They wouldn't return until the late 80s, winning Le Mans in '89. And nowadays they concentrate on the German touring car series and, oh yes, putting their engines in the back of McLaren Grand Prix cars. Mercedes' indestructible image has been endorsed by despots and diplomats the world over, who have trusted the three-pointed star to provide them with both prestige and reliability. And it's a reputation that's been well proven. Take, for example, our taxi, a 1995 E-Class diesel with over 500,000 kilometres on the clock. Yes, it's got a few lived-in touches, but it's hardly broken into a sweat. While Daimler's early years in Stuttgart built a strong foundation for the future of their Mercedes products, by 1926 the company's fortunes were failing, like many across the country, crippled by war repayments. So they combined resources with another of Germany's great motoring pioneers, Carl Benz. And in 1926, his laurel wreath surrounded Daimler's three-pointed star, and Mercedes-Benz was born. This 1935 Mercedes 500k Cabriolet epitomises the gracious quality of some of their early collaborations. And it's as solid today as it was when it was built. It's almost as if it was hewn from marble. It's not so much a driving experience, it's more a spiritual journey. The steering is sort of connected to the front wheels and the brakes sort of slow you down, but with 2.5 tons underneath you, you just hope nothing pulls out in front of you. And then, once you've got that in your brain, you can sit back and just soak it all up. But it wasn't all about massive tourers. In 1934, Mercedes built their own version of a people's car, rear-engined with a rounded bonnet. Remind you of something? And there was much, much more. They not only built the first ever motor car, they built vans and buses. They built the first mass-produced cars to have superchargers, ABS, airbags and crumple zones. And in 1954, they built the world's first supercar. The glorious gull-wing-doored 300 SL. It was based on their 1952 Le Mans winner, but instead of being stripped down for racing, it was dressed up for continental cruising. And it would cost you the price of a small house. With the long, sensuous bonnet pointing the way ahead and settled behind the trademark white steering wheel, you could sit back and relax as the smooth 240 horsepower 3-litre did all the work. The only drawback was that there was no power steering, no wind-down windows and no air conditioning. Of course, since 1998, Daimler-Benz has become Daimler-Chrysler. But that makes little difference to the legend that is Mercedes. Its history reads like a history of Germany. At one time or another, they had a controlling interest in both Audi and BMW. One of their young designers was Ferdinand Porsche, who would later set up his own little concern down the road. Mercedes is a mark that's admired and coveted the world over. And of course, the story doesn't end there. The next new Mercedes is this 354 horsepower supercharged 3.2-litre SLK. It won't be on sale in Britain until September, so I couldn't drive it home. But we'll be bringing you a full test on Top Gear in the next few weeks.
Still to come on Top Gear. Rockstar lifestyle, rock bottom price, buying a used Rolls. But first, power to the people movers, performance MPVs.
Here we go.
You need a car in which to have fun, and you need to carry your offspring. All 5 of them.
Forget it. Get over it. It won't happen. It's just not possible. Wait 20 years and then buy a sports car. For when you're having your midlife crisis. Now, Honda, the maker of the sensible Civic, cordial Accord and slightly bonkers HR-V, have gone completely mad and launched a... Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do this. A sporty MPV. And here it is, the 7-seat Stream. It's Honda's first attempt at a sports activity vehicle, and it's pitched into an ever-increasing small MPV market. Here, it faces stiff competition from Britain's best-selling 7-seater, the Vauxhall Zafira.
Someone at Vauxhall appears to have gone mad too. They've dropped the lovely 2.2-litre engine from the VX220 into this family wagon.
Let's hope it still does the job.
Vauxhall haven't adopted any sporty styling, but Honda have, going for the streamlined Civic look. And in my humble opinion, it looks all right, apart from those puny alloys.
One interesting feature is this rear brake light and reflector, which runs the length of the tailgate. And that's a tailgate that comes at the end of a dynamic motion roof, Honda speak.
Inside, the dash is similar to the Civic hatches, with a splash of silver-coloured trim on the centre console. The 7 seats are easy to rearrange to suit your travelling needs, but the old MPV problem remains.
With all the seats in place, the boot makes the Mini look spacious. There is no room for the family luggage. And I wouldn't like to sit this close to the rear window. And you're even closer in the back of the Zafira.
But are these cars sporty? Well, no. Marrying the words sporty with MPV is a hearty idea, but because they're tall and heavy when full, they just won't scorch tarmac, unless they're powered by a big V8, which they're not.
The 2-litre 154 bhp VTEC engine is slightly more powerful than the Vauxhalls, but the Honda loses the race to 60 by taking just over 9.5 seconds compared to the Zafira's 9. However, you will run a smooth, quiet race in here.
You also get 4 airbags, a CD player, and automatic aircon as standard, which adds to the good value of the near 17 grand Stream. And being based on the proven Civic, the Stream is expected to get a good Euro NCAP crash test rating of 4.
The cabin is a very light and bright place in which to travel. The seats are firm and you sit high up in good Mini MPV fashion. The front-wheel drive chassis is much more car-like than the body would have you believe. But unlike a car, the gear change is up here near the dash, which is great.
But it's never going to leave you feeling like you've had a brush with a sports car. For £500 more, the Zafira does without side airbags and has a disappointing Euro NCAP crash test rating of 3. Vauxhall have fitted traction control though, which seems a bit bizarre because the lack of tyre traction never occurs, so there's no need to control it.
Around town, the Zafira's ride is more comfortable than the Honda's, but it loses that advantage on faster, more uneven surfaces.
The steering is well balanced and responsive, and the wheel itself is more adaptable than the Streams, moving in and out as well as up and down.
On country lanes, it's not as well composed as the Stream, and you're conscious of body roll around the corners. Accelerate hard, and the engine noise becomes intrusive as you head towards a 6,500 RPM red line.
Here are 2 cars with compromises. In these sports versions, you want to have fun behind the wheel, but you can't. Well, you can, but only up to a point. And like all MPVs, you can carry lots of people, but you can't carry their luggage. Honda and Vauxhall have both tried to put the fun in functional, and the Stream has made the better job of it.
It may not be as sporty as Honda's hype, but it drives well, feels solid, and looks that bit different. Now, I don't have one child, let alone a small army, but if I was in the market for a petite 7-seater, then I would look no further than this.
Rock and roll lifestyle. I don't know, nothing lasts. After all, when you've trashed one hotel room, you've pretty much trashed them all.
And what am I left with? Television? Who needs television? It's at times like these when the rock and roll roller coaster stops and you wake up in a strange hotel room wishing you'd gone to work in a bank. Then you take one look at the Rolls-Royce parked outside and give yourself a slap for even thinking that way.
Silver Shadows are no longer the reserve of pop stars and princes. Anyone can get them, even commoners. You can pick one up for as little as 10 grand, and a real Minter will cost around 20. And their value is set to head further north as they edge their way into classic status. In short, they rock, mate.
It's not unusual for punters to get within 3 feet of one of these cars, go all wobbly at the sight of the badge, and then hand over the loop without even kicking a tyre. But there's plenty to separate the good from the bad.
Adrian, I love
Yeah, I thought so.
Even rock stars have got to be prepared for the running cost. These cars have a 6.7 litre V8. 15 miles to the gallon?
Go for the Mark II Silver Shadow, as it's vastly improved over its predecessor. And make sure you go for one that's had money ploughed into its mechanicals, because something like a brake service is going to cost you a fortune, but it won't add that much to a car that's already had it done.
Basics include power steering, disc brakes and lovely deep woolly carpet. Add to that the enormity of the interior, the vastness of the boot, and there really is no more graceful, indulgent way of travelling.
Yep, still got it. It probably comes as no surprise that the Silver Shadow was built with the American market in mind. And quite like a lot of their American drivers, they weigh 2.5 tonnes and don't like strenuous activity. But don't call it a barge, it's not a barge. This is the QE2.
I drive a Rolls-Royce.
So what do you get for Rolls-Royce luxury? Well, we've got one of the earliest forms of climate control known to man. We've got power seats, designed in the 1960s, and we've got wood and leather. Oh, whole herds and forests have been put to the sword for this car.
But don't get too carried away with the badge. The Silver Shadow suffers from rust just like any other car. So have a good look around the rear wheel arches, bottom of the front wings and the floor pan. But cosmetics can be sorted out fairly cheaply. House remortgaging will only come with something that has dodgy mechanicals.
Ordinarily, it's all very virtuous having a dig around yourself for problems, but if you get it wrong with these cars, the outcome could be financially crippling. If I were you, I'd go to one of those specialist dealers around the country. They're vetted to make sure prices and standards are up to scratch, and an inspection will cost you 350 quid plus VAT.
The state of the leather and the ashtrays are a good indicator of the car's health, and watch out for the air conditioning. It's not a cheap car to run, but there's no reason why rock stars should have all the fun.
If truth be told, rollers have only ever been on loan to posh people anyway. Way back in 1911, Lord Montague of Beaulieu was having a bit of a ding-dong with his secretary. Well, no one could find out, could they? So as a tribute, he made a little statue of her and stuck it on the end of his Rolls-Royce. And that became the spirit of ecstasy, something which some commoners have taken a little far in these machines, if you know what I mean. Well, if you excuse me, I'm off to join the Moonies and make my difficult third album.
Next week on Top Gear, BMW's entry-level Mini 1 faces its opposition. Nissan's new soft-roader, the X-Trail, and downhill racing, the Soapbox Challenge from Goodwood's Festival of Speed.